Keren Boiman is the CEO and co-founder of Bullseye. She is a dynamic leader, passionate about revolutionizing the job search process with over 18 years in operations and program management, including Director of PM at SEMA AI and Head of the Product Management Office at Intel AI. She holds a Bachelor in Electrical Engineering from Tel Aviv University and an MBA from Santa Clara University, where her research focused on leveraging technology to minimize ageism in the workforce. Her mission at Bullseye is to leverage technology to help professionals accelerate their job search by using a personal AI job hunter that acts like a career expert by their side. It's an honor to be with us today, Keren, and now I'm heading over to you.
Thank you. Yes, so hi everyone. I'm excited to meet you all. I know you're coming from different parts of the world. I learned about some of your background, and I hope this can be helpful to you in your job search and your approach to, the professional job seeking. Let me start by sharing my screen here. You can see this, right?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Great. So our session today will be focusing on resume as a tool in the application process and the job seeking process, and how to treat the resume and the cover letter strategically, how to apply best tips and tricks. And I'll also demo Bullseye, the tool that we've gotten introduced to. So a little about us. We're the team behind Bullseye. We're a small team. We're based in California, in Santa Clara. My background, as was introduced, I'm an engineer by education, a double-E and an MBA, and headed the program management office at Intel AI and directed program management at another AI startup called SEMA AI here in the Bay Area. When I was looking for a job a few years ago, the market was not as, brutal as today, but still it was a pretty long and frustrating process to land a job, even as an experienced engineer, not entry level. It wasn't easy. And I had to lean heavily on the network, even develop a network, and lean heavily on it. And it kind of got to me like, why is this process so frustrating, so inefficient, so manual? And there's so much technology can do moreover today, that I took that in part to my MBA research and start thinking, okay, how can technology actually minimize the amount of inefficiency, both on the job seeker side and also on the recruiter side, on the employer side, the hiring manager side. So this is what Bullseye is about, giving an ability for folks to streamline and make the job search, moving away from the spray and pray approach, from the numbers game in terms of how we look at a job search, into a more enjoyable and productive journey. Oren has joined me as a CTO with Bullseye. Oren is a previous CEO and co-founder of Magista, which was another AI startup in the video space, and it grew to over 100 million users. Oren led the company to its acquisition by Vimeo and served as the GM leadership team on Vimeo. His background is PhD in computer science and AI, and together we're making this dream a reality. So when we started off, we've first spent good few months just, even without writing a single line of code, on researching the market. Why is this so inefficient? What are people doing on both ends? And our philosophy in terms of treating the job search in a more targeted and focused manner lies heavily on the quality versus quantity approach. That's what we advocate for, and that's what Bullseye enables folks to do. conducting a deep job fit analysis, and I'll talk about that and how to do it. Using a simplified, very simple resume template. This is what we'll talk about today. Tailoring the resume for each job description is, it is manual, but Bullseye has a solution for that as well. And using the STAR methodology, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that, and I'll talk about it in more depth, but both for the resume and in interviews. Now, this is and I like to have this as an interactive conversation. Feel free to drop in questions at the chat, and we'll monitor them as they come. But don't be shy. We're a small group of people here, and I'll be happy to take any questions you may have. So first off, as I mentioned, we spoke with over 30 recruiters and hiring managers, and what we learned is that recruiters, they get high volume number of applications. They get hundreds, if not thousands, of applications these days for job openings, even within the first few days. And so they are using systems in terms of applicant tracking systems and so on, but they try not to filter by keywords, because they think that is projecting bias into the applicant pool. What they do is they do look at a resume, but spend very little amount of time, as little as 10 seconds on a resume. And so a resume as a tool for you to serve a purpose, which is landing a job or at least getting to an interview, must meet the basic qualifications. That's what it needs to communicate. Meeting the basic qualifications as they are written in the job description, but also talking about the preferred qualifications. Some jobs have a section for preferred qualifications as well. So think of those as your bonus points. They are not replacing the basic. You have to meet the basic, but also make sure that the resume hits the nail on the head in terms of talking about the bonus points, the preferred. Always try to look for, make sure that the resume communicates quantified achievements as opposed to generalized statements. Generalized statements could be, I did XYZ, versus quantified achievements would talk about specific impacts that you've made, and we'll talk about that in more depth afterwards. So job fit, first off, what is a job fit, and why does that even matter? So a job fit analysis is going through each and every line in the requirement section, both the basic and the preferred, and making sure that the resume actually talks about that and makes, the reader understand that you are actually checking the box. And the reason is that it's important. There are many research, there's a lot of research about that. One of it for TalentWorks, talks about that even just meeting 10% more in terms of the requirements, meeting just 60% as opposed to 50%, doubles your chances as an applicant to get to an interview, to reach the interview stage. So that's why it is so important to not send generalized resume for each job, like this is what I have, and just send it all over the place, but be mindful of what persona or what highlights, what qualifications I would like to highlight through the resume. I talked a little bit about STAR. STAR it's a method that's fairly known. It stands for situation, task, action, and results. And it's a way to convey both on the resume and through the interview impacts in a very quantified manner, which means to be very concise, specific statements that you can actually quantify and measure the achievement or the impact that you made in the previous organization that you served for. And the situation, the S stands for situation, task, action, and results. Situation talks about providing some background. What was the setting? What was the group? What was the problem that we were trying to solve and I was tasked for? T stands for task, describing the problem and the challenges you are facing. Action is specifically what you did about it. And again, try to be as specific as you can in terms of tools, methodologies, action you taken, timelines, anything that talks specific. And the results were essentially what was the actual outcome? Can we measure success? How do you measure success? Talking about KPIs and how they were measured and what they were. So just as an example, in the software world, like reducing bug throughput time by 30% in terms of how fast we're able to react on bugs or so by 30%, that's a measure of success that can be quantified and measured. Okay. These are all examples of, like, again, STAR is also like known as problem, solution, and result. They talk about, and these are all examples in different domains of showing essentially the results or how you would want to formulate the statements on your resume. So facing 20% end of year sales deficit, spearheaded, targeted marketing, dynamic pricing, that's in a marketing space, resulting in 25% boost in sales volume and so on within a quarter. So also the timeline with and how fast this was, they were able to achieve that. Again, addressed a critical funding shortfall. This is in the fundraising sector, negotiating key customer contracts and business strategy, securing pivotal funding in days. Or again, this is another sales example, sales output, achieving 50% rise in sales activities. So this is just to give you a sense of how you would want to formulate the statements on the resume. Now, not every bullet point on the resume has to be using quantified achievement. Not each and every one of them, but try to sprinkle, have a few that you can talk through both in the resume or in the recruiter phone call, the phone screen, or the hiring manager conversation or the panel conversation. Make sure that you're able to talk about those in greater detail. Okay, any questions so far?
Yes, we do have a question. How can I create a resume as a beginner with no prior work experience?
Yes. We'll talk about that. I'll take that as part of the demo. As part of Bullseye demo. Okay, let's look at a template as well. What is an ATS? An ATS is an applicant tracking system. We talked about that in a bit. An applicant tracking system is the container on the employer side for which all of the job applications go into and stored. All of your information is saved in there for each job description that you apply for. And this is the mechanism employers use to funnel the applicants throughout from posting a job all the way to the interview stage and to the offer stage and to closing the deal, sealing the deal with the applicant. So they see if they post a job and they got hundreds of applicants, all of those 100 applicants for that specific job are stored in that system. And that's where the system, the ATS, is also parsing. It's extracting the information from the resume for the recruiter or the hiring manager to be able to learn from not just the resume, the PDF or the docx itself, but it's extracting the information to plug it into their system. So the problem with that is that some people don't know that complex resume templates, such as these ones, they either have a visual component or they have tables as metadata. You can't necessarily see that there are tables here, but there could be tables here. Or any complex objects on the resume that are that could essentially mess with how the applicant tracking system parses the information. So because the applicant tracking system parses, extracts the information left to right, top to bottom, this can completely mess with how it's taking the information from your resume. Your resume is still going to be in the system saved, so anyone can click that and open. But what they see in front when they open the profile is they will see not a coherent information as you wanted to convey. So that's what we recommend. Using a very, very simplistic template. You don't have to use this one. That's just an example. But this is how you would go about in from a resume template perspective. You'd have a summary, which essentially showcases who you are, what you've done. It's not a personal summary statement. It's a professional summary statement. And each of those components need to be tailored, geared, or customized for the role. What am I saying about myself in the summary statement, in the skills, in the experience section, education, projects, volunteering, anything of that sort, but only things that are relatable and completely aligned with the role. For example, I will not talk about any volunteering experience if I cannot find things that directly relate to the job description. Is it something that they specifically asked about? If not, then what I have under my volunteering or my project is less relevant. I will not mention that, or I will find a way to showcase what I've done under projects and volunteering in a way that is relatable to the role. Make sense? Okay. And as I was saying, like, I will pick and choose which skills are relevant. It's not going to be a laundry list of skills that I will let the employer or the recruiter guesswork what I meant. It's going to be a very short number, 8, 9 skills handpicked for each role. The experiences section, as I talked about, would be using the STAR methodology and try to quantify your achievements as much as possible. But mostly talk about things that are relevant to the role and directly align with the job description. Now I'll go ahead and I'll share a demo of Bullseye. So you see how all of the components that I mentioned in terms of analyzing the fit, being able to understand, is this a good fit for me? What's missing from my application? How to tailor the application? All of that is what Bullseye essentially can help you. That's what we built the tool with to help you do that much faster and with much greater confidence. So share my screen real quick on that. So, and don't worry, we'll give you the link to use the app afterwards. Right now, I'm going to focus on how to use this, how this works essentially. So Bullseye is best used with Chrome, not with Safari or Firefox. And when you first log in the system, it's asking you to plug in your resume, or you can just, and that goes back to the question we had before, you can just type in or copy paste your, even just your LinkedIn profile, anything that would be your master resume or your master profile. And I'll show you why in a minute. But once I have my resume plugged in the system, the way Bullseye works is it is giving you feedback, objective feedback on the fit, but always against a specific job description. It's not in a vacuum. It's not just like general feedback on the resume. It's always against a job description. So once I plug this in, I will click the check job fit, and I'll have to paste a job description from anywhere. I'll show you an example of how we have a Chrome extension, so I'll be able to get a I'll take program management because that's my background. I'll pull any job description from here that I would like. Say business operations here, for example. And Bullseye also has a Chrome extension, as you can see on my right-hand side, that works on many, many job boards. So I'll click this and say, check job fit. And what it will do is it will copy over the entire job description. You don't have to worry. When you copy, you can copy everything over. You don't have to pick and choose what you're copying. Just copy everything over. Bullseye knows how to deal with that. And then I'll click check job fit. Now, what you see in the meantime is these are all roles that I analyzed. All of them are program management, senior program management, same as my background, but I still get very different results in terms of a score. So if I click here, I got like a 63% of a fit. And I'm wondering why. Why did I get a 63%? So it shows me that I'm meeting about 50% of the essential requirements and 0% of the preferred. And then I go one by one and explains to me one by one the requirements. And it tells me, okay, they want 7 years of experience in project management in the healthcare, biotech, or tech industry. There's no specific mention of experience in the healthcare or biotech because that's not where my background lies. That's true. And that's how I get like a partial score of a fit. For this one. Then I have proven track record of successfully managing complex. So it tells me Keren has a proven, it explains essentially on the right-hand side how Bullseye understands my profile, read the resume, and is able to check the box for each and every one of those. But some things I don't check the box. For example, this one, they want deep analytical experience and bring life in a variety of formats, including visually stunning presentations and so on. So some of my analytical experience dealing with data, extracting data was not, mentioned or I wasn't giving too much detail in my original resume. So Bullseye essentially explains what's missing and is talking with me and asking me questions against those gaps. So it's able to identify the gaps and then I can just talk with it, same as like I would talk with any career expert, explaining, yes, but I did do this, or no, I didn't do that. So it asks me, this is an example, like talk to me about stunning presentations and so on. And so I have like a drop-down menu where I would decide, Bullseye is asking me, okay, but where did you gain this experience? So this specific experience I gained as head of program management office at Intel. And so I explain a bit about it, what I've done. Again, look at the problem solution result methodology. This is how it asks me about it. And it requires me to think through what it is that I'm writing. And it's essentially saying, okay, excellent, please review the summary below. I have to approve this because, this is using AI heavily, and AI many times has a tendency of making up stuff or not being accurate. So Bullseye is asking me to approve. And so that's how I interact with the tool. Now, some things, I just don't have. I don't have anything to add, strong understanding of healthcare data, genetics. I don't have that. So I don't have anything to add. But some things I do, so I add them and I can potentially, if they're relevant, see the score go up from 60% to whichever. That's how the score is being calculated. Both my partial scores, which are the question mark, and the ones I fully meet the requirement. And Bullseye also has a memory, meaning every piece of information that I plug in there, it will remember both for any future job descriptions that I'm going to analyze and for the tailored resume, because it's also going to generate a tailored resume for me. Now, this is the Intuit principal business operations role I was analyzing before. I can see I got like a high score, 7 to 10 years of relevant. It tells me what's missing. There is no specific mention of SaaS or fintech sectors, which is what's missing here, but I still got a 93%, which guides me in terms of applying. So we recommend applying for roles that you get either 70% and above. Those are good fits. If things that I got like 50%, 60%, it potentially I will not go ahead and apply because there'll be much better candidates than myself, but it helps me and objectively analyze my fit for every role. And then, once I'm happy about it, I like the score, I want to apply, I just click the resume button. So in this case, I just click the resume button, and Bullseye takes all of the information that I had on my original resume and every piece of information that I fed beyond that across all of the job description that it analyzed, and builds a resume for me, which is customized for this job description. So this one, and you can see like the sections that I showed before in terms of a simplified resume. So a seasoned program manager, MBA, so and so, it will position me differently for each role, pick out different skills, whichever are relevant. For example, this one talks about KPI and SLA, release schedule coordination, so and so. It will pick and choose which what components to highlight from each role that I had. And it will spend the majority of the real estate of the resume talking about roles that I've done within the past 8 to 10 years, not things that I've done 15 years ago. Everything of that is built into the summary and the skills, but it will use the resume to showcase recent experiences that I had. This is what recruiters and employers are looking for. They're not looking for things I've done 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Those are less relevant. Essentially, our career is progressing. Everything I do today is based upon, most of the things I do today is based upon experiences that I've already gotten. So it's progressive in terms of the growth and professional trajectory. So this is how Bullseye works. Now, maybe I don't like a word, I want to change something. I have an editor on the left-hand side, which I can play. I can add sections. I can move around sections. I can move the skill set upwards or downwards or whichever way I want. I can choose even different templates, maybe more condensed ones. All of them are following the simplistic format I was talking about before. They don't have any visual elements. They don't have anything that can play with the ATS parsing. I can choose different colors or so. And then once I'm ready, I just hit download and apply. Now let's see this one. This one was it was highlighting my technical program management capabilities. If I click onto the resume button on the Intuit, I'm suspecting it will talk about my business capabilities and experience in operations, not as much about the program management highlighting, but more about this one. No, let's see. This one's ready. Yeah, so you see a business executive, 15 years of experience, strategy, operations, so and so. And also the skills are completely different, talks about rapid business adaptation, data-driven decision-making, so on and so forth. Okay, let's see. Any questions so far? You see, Violina?
I see, but we still don't have other question than
Okay,
first one.
got
But
it.
I do
Sounds
have
good.
one question. Does Bullseye take into account the soft skills or only the technical skills?
Yeah, it takes into account the soft skills and the hard skills as well. So, like, different role, I had a conversation with Bullseye about my negotiation skills or about conflict resolution skills. These are all soft skills. You can see that problem solving, can see that here as well. So it definitely takes everything into account, but it also asks you to give it concrete examples. I don't just say, hey, I have conflict resolution skills. I have to be very specific about it. Okay, give me a scenario where there was a conflict, in a professional setting, not personal, not outside of work, in a professional setting, and how you came about this. What did you try out? What were the actions you've taken and how you led to a resolution for this situation? So definitely takes into account all of that. And also, once you're mentioning the soft skills aspect, Bullseye also is very helpful for people who are transitioning careers, because it is able to understand your transferable skills as well. So essentially, if I want, say, for example, I'm a program manager at a specific sector, semiconductor, and I want to move to biotech, it's going to be able to understand everything I've done in the semiconductor space, but that relates to program management, and help me understand my fit for a different sector. What's missing? What is it what are the gaps? Maybe I can overcome them. Maybe it is what it is. So it guides me also in terms of, transferring to a different pillar, like say business, from program management to business operations, to operations as a whole, but also to different sectors. So as we were talking about before, it provides guidance as well. And on top of just, tailoring the resume and the cover letter and all of that, also guidance in the career trajectory as well.
Definitely quite helpful too for stand out in the job market.
Yeah, I see the questions here. We're seeing the presentation, not the website. Yeah, I'll go over the website. And we talked about the beginner level. What I do recommend, even like if you're using Bullseye or so, try to use a very simplified template, or even I can send you the template that I shared in the presentation. Just fill it out, freestyle, write whatever it is that you can, put dates, and insert that to Bullseye. What I also wanted to show actually is another component of this. If we look across I'm sharing my screen and you can see this person icon here. So in this person icon, I can see edit master resume, in which I can see the resume that I uploaded, how this was parsed by Bullseye. And I can see whatever I fed in. I can add more things to this instead of just, fixing this in each and every resume. I can add this to my master resume. I can just add more sections here, add more information. I can add as much as I want here. Instead of just, updating the memory each and every time with each conversation, I can go here, change dates. I can add more information as much as I want. Bullseye is always going to generate a tailored resume that is 2 pages max, never more. No matter how much information I put in here, it's always going to pick and choose what's relevant and trim it down to 2 pages. focusing on my 10 most recent years of experience. So this is also a good thing to know in terms of managing the master resume, managing my deeper profile. So think about it as Bullseye as like the career expert sitting by your side. It's getting to learn more about you way beyond the resume. It's getting to know you, both the soft skills, the hard skills, anything of that sort. Now, I mentioned before we have a Chrome extension, which you'll get a link to. This is easy to import. It makes it very easy to import jobs rather than just copying, pasting. I can just go like this, copy, paste, but this is helpful in terms of copying, pasting jobs. This works on LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, Wellfound, Dice, and many other job boards, the major ones. If you guys know of any job board that you want to add this to, we'll be happy to explore that. If there is any specific front-end job boards, that would be great if you know of any. I don't know if the front-end community has a job board. Yes? No?
I don't think that we have something specific,
Yeah.
but if anyone knows, can share in the chat.
Yes, I'm sure there are job boards for software developers or even for front-end developers specifically. And now I'll share my screen, talk about a bit about the experiments that we had before launching with Bullseye so far. We've tried it with over 450 job seekers, all of them professionals in tech and finance, all the way from entry-level interns even as well, entry level to VPs. A majority were mid-career level, and we've seen very, very high engagement. As I was mentioning before, 29% of the folks who were using Bullseye were actively interviewing within a single month or less. So this is how we measure our success. So as I was talking before, moving away from the spray and pray approach, whereas like you hit the easy apply button and you just apply to every role, to hundreds of applications, and hoping for the best. We don't believe in that approach at all. We advocate for a very specific and targeted approach. We think that the playing the numbers game or just spray and pray, it also has a mental toll, and you can see that in forums for job seekers. They say, you know, this is so frustrating. I applied for hundreds and hundreds of jobs over the past X number of months, and I got only like 2 people, 3 people calling me back. What's wrong with me? And that's very frustrating. And we say like nothing is wrong with you, but applying to many, many jobs that if you analyze, you see that they're not a good fit, then it's just a waste of time, but also has a demoralizing aspect. And we know now that job search can take potentially a long time. It's not an instant overnight thing as we would wish. So maintaining, you know, that mental resilience is also important. You know, not being frustrated or minimize the frustration along the job search itself. Applying for roles strategically and not just all over the place is important. So that's what I'm saying about 29%. The way we measure success is the ratio from application to interview ratio. That's how we measure Bullseye success in converting applications to interviews. So almost a third were actively interviewing within a single month or less, and they directly relate that to Bullseye. As I was talking about before, it does the job fit analysis, the tailored resume, it works on Chrome. It doesn't work only on Chrome, but I would prefer that you guys use Chrome. You get a 5 free day trial with limited credits. And afterwards you can, this is a discounted rate for the front end community. It's $25 per month or $89 up until you get hired, up to a year. So it gives you that peace of mind of, that will support you up to a year, if need be. So we talked about that, and primarily what we see is that folks have seen a dramatic ability in terms of saving time in the application. One, because they know exactly where not to spend their time on, like what's not going to bear any fruit. And they feel more confident in applying for their roles that they see a good fit. An application which, once used to take hours now takes minutes. Getting to a tailored application, really honing on what am I communicating and how. And essentially the ability to secure interviews. Now, I'm sharing right now. You can take a screenshot. This is the Bullseye app. You can use that. We also have a blog with extensive information about any aspect of the job search, from the cover letter to the application to the resume tailoring, everything I spoke about, but much more detailed, and many, many examples there. Also about templates, and I would suggest you go check that out too. So once you log in with the app, and again, try to do that on Chrome, make sure that you log in using a Gmail or anything, that account, and only when asked, you can enter the access code. This is an access code that gives you extended trial for the front end community. Another thing I wanted to show you was when we go to look on any job board, many of them are allowing you to filter the jobs that were recently posted. So if I go here on LinkedIn, also Indeed has that capability, and I'm sure other job boards, I can check this box which says past 24 hours. And now these are the roles that we need to focus on, because those are the ones that get lowest number of applicants at a given time. So this was posted like 9 hours ago, and it's gotten a very low number relatively of candidates. So these are the ones I would focus on the most. Things that are like 2 weeks old, unless I have like a referral or I know the hiring manager, I won't even go ahead and apply. Unless they repost that again, so that means they're open for, such as this one, they're open for new pool of applicants, but I won't spend my time. So if you go every day or every other day on the job board and you filter by the past 24 hours, these are the roles that are worthwhile spending your time on. Now, you know how much the network is very important. I would advise you, and that's what I've seen work in conjunction, applying to roles that were posted recently with a tailored application that you obviously are a good fit for. If you're not a good fit, using the Bullseye tool analysis, if it's not a good fit, all of these components need to line up. And using a referral, try to leverage your network as much as you can. Find referrals in those companies, but even if you don't have a referral, go ahead and apply as fast as you can within the first couple of days when they don't have as many applicants, because this is essentially increasing the chances of being, evaluated for the role. One other thing I wanted to share with you guys is the Chrome extension link, and I'll just put it here in the chat. Yes, it works if you're using a non-Gmail account. There was a question on the chat. Yeah, so Marina, you had a question. 29% versus how many for people not using Bullseye. So the statistics talk about anywhere between 7-8 months to land a job in this climate, and that's across sectors, and it's a mixed bag. So I don't have that number for you specifically, but all of the users that were that have gotten interviews using Bullseye say that they got it much faster. So at least we know about benchmarking against what they were facing before, if that makes sense. It's a much higher number. Yeah.
We do have another question. What to do when you aren't sure of the metrics measurable impact that you've had at the prior job? So many of my former jobs never gave me feedback or data points, KPIs that I can use as measurable results. What is your
Yes, yeah, that's a great question. And I've heard that many times. So you have to in this case, you would have to evaluate or think through what could your contribution have been. Now, you can understand the problem scope that you were brought in to solve, because we're always brought in to solve a problem. As a developer, I have to put together a project and launch this to the world. Or as a release manager, this is what I have to do. Or as a program manager, something is not working. The process in terms of launching, developing, schedule slippage, all of that, something's not working. We're always brought in to solve a problem. The employer has a problem, which I come in to solve. So the context which we're operating in, you'd have to think through what was the context that you were operating in. Even as an intern, like a 3-month contract, whichever, it's always to solve a specific problem. And then the actions you've implemented upon that. And then you'd have to guess or think through what could have been the impact that you've made. Now, impact can be made, you can talk about percentage-wise, like I saved 50% of the time to develop a product, or in user-facing roles, this could be retention, improved retention rates by X%, or since you brought in like a new methodology, I'm just guessing, just giving you examples, you brought in a new methodology of how to do stuff, you cut time of developing a project by 2 months or by 20%, or you brought in more sales revenue by what percentage, or by a definitive amount, by an absolute amount. I increased sales by whatever, 200K, or I shortened life cycle by X percentage. So this can either be in absolute numbers, such as dollar amounts, time amounts. You were able to cut time by X amount of months or years or so on. or percentages. Okay, now this is something that you need to think through. It's not like a straightforward, because nobody knows what exactly the setting you were in beside you and the employer. Yeah. How can I include how can I include my GitHub URL and personal portfolio URL into the contact? So I believe there's a way to go into the master resume and edit master resume and add on the contact info, add another line, or create new section. You can create new section on the master resume as well, and add the GitHub URL in there. I think we answered this question. How do I create a resume as a beginner with no prior work experience? Let me send you, write me an email. I'm putting my email here. Write me an email and I'll send you, whoever this is relevant for, a simplified template to use. Just put in the information, free text that you have, experiences you have, the timeline, so on, and plug that into Bullseye. Bullseye is gonna talk with you, explain, and then once it generates the application, it will generate everything formatted. So you don't have to worry about that, even as a first resume, as a beginner resume. Okay, but talking about the no prior experience, this is where you need to put the education down or any projects that you've done. Now, you can talk about curriculum from college that you've taken. You can talk about personal projects outside of a professional setting, but that are relevant to the role. You can talk about volunteering experience. These are all, capabilities that you have that people don't think of them in the professional setting. Okay, for example, in a volunteering role, I could have done aspects of operations, coordination, scheduling, managing budget, managing resources, coordinating people, creating events, building a community. Anything of that sort could be leveraged in a professional setting as well. Freelance work, contracts, projects,
very good. That volunteering is a very good point. We are also encouraging our volunteers, even if they don't have experience, to put volunteering as experience on LinkedIn. And we have so many opportunities like event planning, design skills, so different challenges which help them build experience.
Yes, definitely. Even taking on, non-paid internships. That's another option. Nobody has to know that it's a paid or non-paid. It's not relevant. The experience you gain through the internship or through the short timeline or short period experience in a real company, that's valuable. That's as valuable as anything else. If it's paid or non-paid, for people just entering the market, it's crucial. It's something to talk about. It's something to talk about in the resume. It's something to talk about in the phone screen. Yeah.
Keren, we have one more question. So it's from Soraya. She's asking, what are your thoughts about the STAR method, referring to an interview technique that give you in a straightforward format you can use to tell a story by laying out the situation, task, action, and result. Situation, set the scene and give the necessary details of your example. Task, describe what your responsibility in what situation. Action, explain exactly what steps you took to address it. And result, share your outcomes, your actions are here.
Yeah, great. So we kind of touched upon this, but you know, working with Bullseye, since it asks you about problem, solution, and result methodology, it will help you practice and put down in writing and prepare for the interview as well. So the way you would go about this in an interview is, you know, you typically get asked, okay, what was the biggest challenge you faced? Or tell me about a conflict you were facing at work and how you resolved that. Or tell me about working with a team member and that was harder, or anything of that sort. So you would want to phrase your answer in a way, you're not specifically saying, hey, I'm going to answer this with the STAR methodology, but the way you are setting or phrasing or building the answer would be, yeah, so the problem, you know, I was facing at role XYZ company, this and that, was this and this. And what I did about this was this and this. And what we've seen over time, over whatever number of weeks or days or months, the outcome was this. And this is what we measured in terms of data. This is how we analyzed if the problem was resolved or not. So this is how you would frame your answer. And you have to make it very succinct, like not more than a single minute answering. If they want more information, they will ask additional questions. You try to make this, again, even in your answer, in your verbal answer, as quantified as you can, if you can. You talk about dramatic achievements that you have throughout. You're using that question to weave in impacts you've made to the team. Okay, if that makes sense. You're using that question to turn it around for your benefit. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Audrey, for bringing up that piece of the article from our blog. Also talks about entry level. Yes. Things that I talked about in terms of internships and volunteering work and anything of that sort. That's where you see a lot of details, detailed information about. Thank you, Audrey, for picking that up. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I don't think we have any more questions. I want to say the session was extremely helpful and amazing. Thank you for sharing your contact information. Please email Karen if you have more questions. Use Bullseye, and if you land and succeed with interview, let us know. It's good to support each other and see how we are growing up. Thank you, Karen, so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Happy to collaborate and get to know everyone. Okay. All the best.
Thank you for joining.